Hi there all, and welcome to a new scary Roblox horror story. In this video, the story is about 99 Nights in the Forest. And remember, not all of our stories are based on true events, but some are. Let us know in the comments what time you listen to this story and sit back, relax, and enjoy the story, if you dare. A 14-year-old called Noah had been no-lifing 99 nights in the forest all holiday long, 8 to 10 hours a day, grinding wood and coal by daylight, sprinting back to the campfire before sunset, and dragging new players to safety when the deer started stalking the tree line. His personal best was 892 nights. He wanted 1,000 before school started in 3 weeks. By now, players recognized his username in lobbies and sent party invites non-stop. One of them, Luna, was brand new, but brave. Noah had first noticed Luna because she didn't panic when the deer appeared. Most new players would scream into their microphones and run in circles until they got caught. But Luna stayed calm, asked smart questions, and learned fast. Really fast. So the campfire upgrade levels determine how far you can explore, she'd asked during their 3rd game together. Exactly, Noah had explained, chopping wood with practiced efficiency. Level 1 campfire only reveals the spawn area, but if you can get to level 6, you can see the whole map. That's where the 4th child is hidden, in the deep caves past the cultist strongholds. Luna was a quick study. Within a week, she could identify different wood types by sound, knew exactly how much fuel each campfire level needed, and had memorized the locations of every hunter's note in the game. She even figured out tricks Noah hadn't discovered, like how certain weather patterns affected the deer's behavior. Did you know the deer moves slower when it's raining? She'd mentioned casually during a particularly intense night 47. I think the water interferes with its tracking somehow. That was when Noah knew she was special. Most players took months to notice details like that. They'd become an unstoppable team. Noah would handle resource gathering and base building while Luna specialized in navigation and deer evasion. Together, they'd rescued the Dino Kid from the level 3 wolf caves and the Kraken Kid from the Alpha Wolf den. 2 children down, 2 to go, but their friendship had grown beyond the game. During the long day cycles while they chopped wood and upgraded their campfire, they'd talk about everything. School, friends, family, dreams for the future. Luna lived 2 towns over from Noah, in a place she described as basically just forest with a few houses scattered around. Sometimes I feel like I'm already living in 99 nights, she'd joked. My backyard literally looks like the spawn area. Same trees, same layout, even the same weird rock formations. That was what gave Noah the idea. Or maybe it was Luna's idea. Later, he couldn't remember who suggested it first, but somehow they'd decided to meet up in real life, to see if Luna's local forest really did look like the game. Just for fun, Luna had typed. My parents are out of town for the weekend, so I'm home alone anyway. We could build a real campfire, see how long we can keep it going. Noah hesitated. Internet safety rules said never meet strangers from online games. But Luna didn't feel like a stranger anymore. After a week of surviving virtual nights together, he trusted her more than most people he knew in real life. Okay, he'd finally agreed, but just for a few hours. And we stay in the safe area near the road. They'd arranged to meet at sunset on Friday evening. Luna would bring camping supplies. She actually had experience with real outdoor survival, unlike Noah, who'd learned everything from video games. Noah would bring snacks and his phone for emergencies. The forest Luna had described was about a 40-minute bike ride from Noah's house. He arrived just as the sun was touching the horizon, painting the sky orange and red. Luna was already there, waiting by a small parking area with a backpack and what looked like professional camping gear. You weren't kidding about this place, Noah said, looking around. The similarities to the game were uncanny. The same type of pine trees, the same rocky outcroppings, even the same species of moss growing on the tree trunks. It was like someone had designed the game specifically based on this location. I know, right? Luna grinned. I swear the developers must have been here. Look, that's exactly where the spawn point would be. She pointed to a small clearing about 50 yards into the forest. They hiked to the clearing as the last daylight faded. Luna was clearly experienced. She'd brought a proper camping lantern, waterproof matches, dry kindling, and even a collapsible grill grate in case they wanted to cook anything. Welcome to Night 1, Noah said as they set up their makeshift campfire in what would have been the exact center of the game's safe zone. Luna laughed. Think we can make it to day 2? They built their fire just like in the game, small kindling first, then larger sticks, then proper logs arranged in a pyramid shape for maximum burn time. The lantern provided backup light while they worked. As the flames grew higher, pushing back the darkness, Noah felt that familiar sense of safety he always got when upgrading his campfire in the game. You know what's weird? Luna said, as they sat on a fallen log, watching the fire crackle. This feels more natural than I expected, like we've done this before. Noah nodded. He felt it too, a strange sense of déjà vu, like his body remembered skills he'd only learned virtually. His hands had known exactly how to arrange the kindling for optimal airflow. His eyes automatically scanned the tree line for movement, just like when playing the game. Maybe all those hours grinding wood actually taught us something, he said. They talked and joked for hours, feeding the fire whenever it got low, just like they did in the game. The forest around them was peaceful, normal night sounds like crickets and distant owls, nothing threatening or supernatural. It was exactly what they'd hoped for, a fun, real-life version of their favorite game. But as the night wore on, the temperature dropped more than expected. Their fire was burning through fuel faster than it should have, even though there was no wind. And slowly, gradually, the normal forest sounds began to fade away. When did the crickets stop? Luna asked around midnight. Noah looked up from the log he was feeding into the flames. She was right. The forest had gone completely silent. No insects, no small animals rustling in the underbrush, no distant sounds of traffic from the road, just the crackling of their fire and the sound of their own breathing. Maybe we scared them away when we built the fire, Noah suggested. But even as he said it, he knew that wasn't right. They'd been here for hours. Any animals disturbed by their arrival should have settled down by now. Luna stood up and walked to the edge of their circle of firelight. Hello? She called softly into the darkness. Is someone out there? No answer. But somehow, the silence felt different now. Not empty, but expectant. Like the forest was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Luna, Noah said quietly, come back to the fire. She turned around, and he could see concern in her eyes. Noah, I think... The wind shifted. Just a gentle breeze, but it seemed to come from all directions at once, stirring the leaves in patterns that didn't make sense. And with the wind came a sound, soft at first, then growing louder. Footsteps. Heavy footsteps, moving through the forest toward their clearing, but not human footsteps. These were wrong somehow. Too slow, too deliberate, with an odd scraping sound between each step like something being dragged across the forest floor. Luna hurried back to the fire, grabbing the lantern with shaking hands. Should we call out? See who it is? Noah's mouth had gone dry. Every instinct he'd developed from playing 99 Nights in the Forest was screaming at him to stay quiet, stay still, and whatever they did, don't let the fire go out. The footsteps were getting closer. Through the trees, they could see movement, a dark shape moving between the trunks, just outside their circle of light. It was tall, taller than any person should be, and it moved with an unnatural grace that made Noah's skin crawl. Oh, God, Luna whispered. Noah, look at its eyes. 2 points of red light had appeared in the darkness, reflecting the firelight like an animal's eyes. But these weren't reflecting. They were glowing with their own internal fire, and they were positioned too high off the ground to belong to any normal forest creature. The shape stopped moving. It stood perfectly still just beyond their light, and Noah could feel it watching them, studying them, deciding what to do with them. "The deer," he breathed, hardly believing his own words. It's actually the deer, but that was impossible. The deer was just a video game monster, a collection of pixels and code designed to scare players. It couldn't be real. It couldn't be standing 20 feet away from them in an actual forest. Luna's hand found his arm, gripping tight enough to leave bruises. "Noah, this isn't possible. This isn't real." The shape took a step closer, and now they could see more details. Antlers. Massive, twisted antlers that branched and curved like the arms of a dead tree. A body that was too thin, too tall. Joints that bent in directions that hurt to look at. And those eyes, burning like coals in a face they couldn't quite make out. It was exactly like the game. Exactly like the countless nights they'd spent running from this thing, hiding behind their virtual campfire while it stalked the edges of their safe zone. Except this time, there was no respawn, no exit button, no way to turn off the game and go back to their normal lives. Luna fumbled for her phone. "No signal," she whispered. "How is there no signal? We're only a mile from the road." The deer took another step closer. The scraping sound they'd heard was its hooves dragging across the forest floor, not because it couldn't lift its feet properly, but because it was being deliberate, taking its time, playing with them. "Don't move," Noah said, remembering the game's most important rule. "As long as we stay in the firelight, it can't touch us." But even as he said it, he noticed their fire was burning lower. They'd been so focused on the creature that they'd forgotten to add more fuel. The flames were starting to die down, and their circle of safety was shrinking. Noah reached for another log, moving as slowly as possible. The deer's head turned to follow the movement, those red eyes tracking him like a predator watching prey. But it didn't come closer. The log caught fire, and the flames jumped higher. The deer hissed, a sound like steam escaping from a broken pipe, and took a step backward. "It's real," Luna whispered. "The light actually hurts it." They spent the next hour feeding their fire, taking turns watching the deer, while the other gathered more fuel from the edge of their light circle. The creature never left. It just stood there, patient as stone, waiting for them to make a mistake. Around 2 a.m., Luna noticed their fuel pile was getting dangerously low. "We need more wood," she said, "but everything within reach is either too green or too small. We need proper logs." Noah looked around their clearing. There were fallen branches and dead logs scattered throughout the forest, but they were all outside their safe zone. To get them, one of them would have to venture into the darkness where the deer was waiting. "In the game," he said slowly, "you can stun the deer with flashlight beams. It makes it back away for a few seconds." Luna held up their camping lantern. "Think this would work?" It was a powerful LED lantern, much brighter than the flashlights available in the game. If the real deer followed the same rules as the virtual one, it might give them enough time to grab more fuel. "I'll go," Noah said. "You keep the fire going." "No way," Luna protested. "We stick together. That's the first rule of horror movies and survival games." She was right, but that meant leaving their fire unattended. In the game, if your campfire went out, it was instant death. Here, they had no idea what would happen, and they really didn't want to find out. "Okay," Noah decided. "We both go, but we stay within 10 feet of the fire. And the second anything goes wrong, we run straight back." Luna nodded and picked up the lantern. The deer seemed to sense their intentions. It moved closer, positioning itself between them and the nearest pile of fallen logs. "On 3, Luna whispered. 1, 2, 3. She aimed the lantern directly at the deer's face and switched it to maximum brightness. The beam hit the creature like a physical blow, causing it to shriek and stumble backward, its arms raised to shield its glowing eyes. They ran. Noah grabbed the nearest log, a thick piece of oak that would burn for hours, while Luna kept the light trained on the retreating deer. The creature was hissing and clawing at the air, clearly in pain from the bright light, but it wasn't giving up. It was circling around, trying to get behind them. "Back to the fire!" Luna shouted. They sprinted the 10 feet back to their campfire and threw the log into the flames. It caught immediately, sending a pillar of orange light high into the night sky. The deer shrieked again and retreated to its original position at the edge of the trees. "It worked," Noah panted. "The light actually hurt it." But their victory was short-lived. As they caught their breath, they began to hear new sounds from the forest around them. Not footsteps this time, but voices, human voices, chanting in a language neither of them recognized. "Oh no," Luna whispered. "Please tell me that's not what I think it is." Ooh, the chanting was coming from multiple directions, getting closer with each repetition. Through the trees, they could see points of light moving toward them, torches carried by figures in dark clothing. "Cultists," Noah said, his heart sinking. "It's a raid night." In the game, cultist raids happened every 3 to 4 days starting on night 4. The cultists would attack in waves, trying to destroy your campfire and capture any rescued children you were protecting. Players had to fight them off with weapons and defensive structures. But Noah and Luna had no weapons, no walls, no defensive preparation at all. The chanting grew louder, and now they could make out individual figures emerging from the forest. 6 of them, dressed in hooded robes, carrying crude spears and torches. Their faces were hidden behind carved wooden masks that looked like animal skulls. The leader, taller than the others, and wearing a mask carved to look like a deer skull, raised his staff and called out in accented English, "Children of the modern world, you have trespassed in the sacred grove. You have lit fires where no fires should burn. Surrender yourselves, and your deaths will be swift." Luna grabbed Noah's arm. "This is insane. This can't be happening." But it was happening. The cultists were forming a circle around their clearing, cutting off any escape routes. The deer had vanished back into the shadows, apparently content to let these newcomers handle the intruders. "What do you want?" Noah called out, trying to keep his voice steady. The leader laughed, a sound like breaking branches. "What do we want? We want what we have always wanted. To maintain the balance, to keep the old spirits fed and satisfied, to prevent them from leaving this sacred place and hunting in your cities." One of the other cultists stepped forward. This one's mask looked like a wolf skull, and his voice was younger, less certain than his leader's. "The spirits grow restless," he said. "The barriers weaken with each passing year. Soon the deer lord will be strong enough to hunt beyond these woods. Unless..." "Unless what?" Luna demanded. The leader struck the ground with his staff, sending up a shower of sparks from its fire-hardened tip. "Unless we give the spirits what they crave. Fresh young souls to guard the boundaries. 5 children, offered willingly on the night of the new moon." Noah felt his blood turn to ice. "You're talking about human sacrifice." "Sacrifice?" The leader sounded genuinely puzzled. "No, child, not sacrifice. Recruitment. The 5 become guardians, protectors of the boundary between your world and ours. They live forever in the sacred grove, ensuring that the old spirits never again walk in the realm of mortals." It was horrifying, but Noah could see the twisted logic. These people genuinely believed they were protecting the world by feeding children to supernatural monsters. In their minds, They were heroes. And if we refuse? Luna asked. The cultists began to close their circle, moving slowly but steadily toward the fire. Then you die here, tonight, the leader said simply, and we will find other children, easier prey, little ones who won't fight back. Noah's mind raced. In the game, cultist raids could be survived through preparation and smart tactics. You could build walls to funnel enemies into kill zones, craft weapons to fight them off, set traps to thin their numbers. But here, he and Luna had nothing but a camping lantern and a fire that was burning lower by the minute. Wait, the fire. In the game, cultists were afraid of large fires. They would attack campfires, but they avoided getting too close to them. And their torches, those were their weakness. If you could somehow turn their own fire against them. Luna, he whispered. When I give the signal, grab a burning stick from our fire. The biggest one you can handle. She looked at him like he was crazy, but nodded. The cultists were only about 15 feet away now, well within spear range. Noah waited until the leader took another step forward, then suddenly lunged for their campfire. He grabbed a burning log with his bare hands, ignoring the searing pain, and hurled it directly at the nearest cultist. The man screamed as the flaming wood struck his chest, setting his robes on fire. He dropped his spear and torch, rolling on the ground to put out the flames. Now, Noah shouted. Luna grabbed her own burning brand and swung it at another cultist. The man jumped back, clearly afraid of the fire, but his retreat opened a gap in their circle. Run! Noah grabbed Luna's free hand and they sprinted toward the gap. Behind them, the cultists were shouting and giving chase, but they were hampered by their robes and their fear of getting too close to the burning sticks. Noah and Luna crashed through the underbrush, guided only by Luna's lantern beam. Branches tore at their clothes and roots caught their feet, but they kept running. Behind them, they could hear the cultists crashing through the forest in pursuit. Where do we go? Luna gasped as they paused to catch their breath behind a large tree. Noah tried to remember the layout from the game. There should be a stream somewhere to the east. Running water. In the legends, evil spirits can't cross running water. You're betting our lives on video game logic. You have a better idea? They ran east, or what Noah hoped was east, guided by the sound of moving water somewhere ahead. The cultists' torches were visible through the trees, spreading out to search for them systematically. Finally, they reached the stream, a narrow creek that gurgled and splashed over smooth rocks. Without hesitation, they plunged into the water, gasping as the cold soaked through their shoes and up their legs. Follow it downstream, Noah decided. The water will mask our scent and muffle our footsteps. They waded through the creek for what felt like miles, their feet going numb from the cold water. Gradually, the sounds of pursuit faded behind them. Either the cultists had lost their trail, or they really couldn't cross the running water. When they finally climbed out of the stream, they were shivering, exhausted, and completely lost. Luna's phone still showed no signal, and they had no idea which direction would lead them back to the road. At least we're alive, Luna said, trying to sound optimistic. Noah nodded, but he was thinking about what the cultist leader had said. 5 children, offered on the night of the new moon. They were planning something big, something that would happen soon. Luna, he said slowly, what if this isn't just about us? What if there are other kids in danger? She looked at him with growing understanding. You're thinking about the missing children from the game, the ones you're supposed to rescue. In 99 Nights in the Forest, the main quest involved finding and rescuing 4 children who had been captured by cultists. Players had to infiltrate cultist camps, solve puzzles, and fight their way past guards to free the kids and bring them back to safety. Noah had always assumed those were just NPCs, non-player characters created by the game developers to give players a goal to work toward. But what if they were based on real missing children? What if the game was actually a training simulation, teaching players the skills they would need to survive a real encounter with this supernatural forest? "We have to go back," he said. "Are you insane?" Luna stared at him. "We barely escaped with our lives. Those people were trying to kill us." "No, they weren't. Think about what they said. They want to recruit 5 children. They're not killing them. They're keeping them alive for some kind of ritual. Which means if there really are missing kids out there, they might still be alive." Luna was quiet for a long moment, water dripping from her soaked clothes. Finally, she sighed. "You're right. We can't just leave. But we need help. Weapons, supplies, some kind of plan." "In the game," Noah said, "there are supply caches hidden throughout the forest. Hunter's notes that give you clues about where to find weapons and equipment. If this place really is based on the game, then maybe those caches are real too," Luna finished. They spent the rest of the night searching. Luna's lantern was still working, though the battery was getting low, and they used it to examine every cabin, shack, and ruins they could find. Most of the structures were empty, but finally, just as dawn was breaking through the trees, they found what they were looking for. An old ranger station, abandoned but still intact. The door was unlocked, and inside they found supplies that looked like they'd been left there deliberately. Camping gear, first aid supplies, waterproof matches, even a battery-powered radio. And on the desk, weighted down with a rock, was a notebook filled with handwritten pages. "Hunter's notes," Luna breathed. Noah opened the notebook and began to read. "Day 1. Something is wrong in these woods. I've been a park ranger here for 15 years, and I've never seen anything like what I witnessed tonight. The reports were right. Children are disappearing, but it's not a normal predator. It's something else entirely." Day 3. Found evidence of cult activity in the old growth section. Stone circles, carved symbols, signs of recent fires. Whatever they're doing, it's been going on for a long time. Generations, maybe. Day 7. Saw it myself tonight. The thing they call the deer. It's not natural. It's not alive in any way that makes sense, but it can be hurt by bright lights, and it can't seem to enter running water. Day 12. Made contact with some of the cult members. They're not evil, exactly. They genuinely believe they're protecting the world from something worse. According to their stories, there are old spirits trapped in this forest, things that used to roam freely until humans learned how to bind them. Day 18. The barriers are failing. Whatever ritual has kept these spirits contained for centuries, it's breaking down. The cult thinks they can renew it with a sacrifice of 5 children on the new moon. I think they're wrong. I think they're going to make everything worse. Day 22. If anyone finds this notebook, listen carefully. The missing children are being held in a series of caves about 3 miles north of the stream. The cult keeps them alive and healthy until the ritual. They can be rescued, but you'll need weapons and you'll need to know the forest's rules. Rule 1. Never travel alone after dark. The deer hunts solitary targets. Rule 2. Fire is your best protection, but only if it's big enough. Small flames just attract attention. Rule 3. The cult members are human. They can be reasoned with, fought, or evaded. The spirits cannot. Rule 4. If you hear whispers in the trees, don't listen. They'll try to lure you away from safety. Rule 5. The new moon is in 3 days. Whatever you're going to do it before then. Luna looked up from reading over Noah's shoulder. 3 days? But that was... She checked the date on the last entry. This was written 2 weeks ago. Noah felt his stomach drop. If the notebook was 2 weeks old, then the new moon the ranger had been worried about had already passed. Had the ritual happened? Had they failed to save the children? But then he remembered what the cultist leader had said. 5 children, offered willingly on the night of the new moon. Present tense, like it was still in the future. Maybe there's more than one new moon, Luna suggested. Or maybe they postponed the ritual for some reason. Noah flipped through the rest of the notebook, looking for more recent entries. Most of the remaining pages were blank, but near the end he found a hand-drawn map of the forest with various locations marked. Cultist camps, avoid at night. Cave system, children held here. Sacred grove, ritual site, extremely dangerous. Supply caches, check regularly. Safe zones, running water, iron deposits. The map showed their current location, the ranger station, and a path leading north toward the cave system. According to the scale, it was about a 4-hour hike through rough terrain. We can't do this alone, Luna said. We should go back to town, call the police, get adult help. Noah understood her reasoning, but he also knew it wouldn't work. Who's going to believe us? Even if we could get them out here, what are we supposed to tell them? That there are supernatural monsters in the forest, that a cult is planning to sacrifice children to ancient spirits? Then what do you suggest? Noah studied the map more carefully. We scout the area first, see if there really are missing children. If there are, then we figure out how to help them. But we do it smart. Use the ranger's notes, follow the safety rules, don't take unnecessary risks. Luna was quiet for a long time, staring out the window at the forest that had seemed so normal just 12 hours ago. Finally, she nodded. Okay, but we do this right. We get properly equipped, we make a plan, and we don't go in until we're ready. They spent the morning organizing their supplies and studying the ranger's notes. The notebook contained detailed information about the cult's routines, the forest's supernatural rules, and most importantly, the layout of the cave system, where the children were supposedly being held. According to the ranger, the caves were guarded but not heavily fortified. The cultists relied more on the forest's natural dangers to keep intruders away than on human security. Most people who wandered into the deep woods never made it far enough to find the caves. But Noah and Luna weren't most people. They'd been training for this without knowing it, spending hundreds of hours learning to survive in a virtual version of this exact forest. Around noon, they heard the sound of an engine approaching through the trees. Luna grabbed the radio and tried to contact whoever was coming, but got only static. They hid inside the ranger station and watched through the windows as a pickup truck pulled up outside. 2 men got out, both wearing the same style of hooded robes they'd seen the night before, but with the hoods down. They looked surprisingly normal. Middle-aged, bearded, the kind of guys you might see at a hardware store or coffee shop. Check the usual supplies, one of them said. Make sure nobody's been here. They were cultists, but they weren't acting hostile. They seemed to be making a routine supply run, restocking the ranger station with food and equipment. Noah and Luna waited until the men finished their work and drove away. Then they examined what had been left behind. More camping gear, medical supplies, and most importantly, 2 hunting knives and a small crossbow with a dozen bolts. They're maintaining this place, Luna realized, keeping it stocked for people like us. But why? Luna picked up one of the knives, testing its balance. Maybe they're not all bad. Maybe some of them are trying to help. It was a comforting thought, but Noah wasn't sure he believed it. More likely, the cult was playing a longer game, letting potential rescuers equip themselves just enough to have a chance, but not enough to actually threaten their plans. Still, weapons were weapons, and if there really were children in danger, they would need every advantage they could get. They spent the afternoon learning to use their new equipment and planning their approach. According to the map, the cave system had 3 entrances. A main entrance that was heavily guarded, a secondary entrance that required climbing equipment, and a third entrance that was partially flooded but might be navigable. The flooded entrance, Noah decided. It's the most dangerous for normal people, but we know how to move through water from last night. Luna nodded. And if it's partially flooded, the guards probably don't watch it as carefully. As sunset approached, They prepared for their second night in the forest. This time, they would be actively hunting for the missing children instead of just trying to survive. They gathered dry wood for emergency fires, filled water bottles from the ranger station pump, and packed their new weapons along with Luna's lantern and plenty of backup batteries. "You know this is crazy, right?" Luna said as they prepared to leave the safety of the ranger station. "Completely insane," Noah agreed. "Want to back out?" Luna hefted the crossbow and checked its mechanism. "Not a chance. Let's go save some kids." The hike to the cave system took longer than expected. The forest at night was a maze of obstacles and dangers, and they had to move slowly to avoid making noise that might attract unwanted attention. The deer appeared twice during their journey, but both times they were able to drive it off with Luna's lantern before it got too close. They also heard the cultist chanting in the distance, but managed to avoid the patrols by sticking to the stream beds and rocky areas, where their footsteps wouldn't leave tracks. Around midnight, they reached the flooded cave entrance. It was exactly as the ranger had described, a narrow opening in a cliff face, half filled with dark water that reflected their lantern light like black glass. "How deep do you think it is?" Luna whispered. Noah knelt by the water's edge and used a stick to probe the depth. "Maybe 3 feet in the center. We can wade through it, but we'll be soaked again." Better than being caught by the guards. They entered the cave slowly, Luna holding the lantern high while Noah led the way through the water. The tunnel sloped upward after about 50 yards, and soon they were on dry ground again. The cave system was larger than Noah had expected. Multiple tunnels branched off in different directions, and they could hear sounds echoing from the depths, dripping water, distant voices, and something else that might have been crying. "This way," Luna whispered, pointing toward the sound of voices. They crept through the tunnels, using the lantern sparingly to conserve battery power. The voices grew louder as they went deeper, and eventually they could make out words. "Need to move them tomorrow night. The sacred grove is ready. 5 children, just as the old texts require." Noah's heart began to race. They were close. The tunnel opened into a large cavern lit by torches mounted on the walls, and there, in the center of the cavern, were 4 wooden cages just big enough to hold a child. 3 of the cages were occupied. Noah could see them clearly now. 2 boys and a girl, all between the ages of 6 and 10. They looked scared but unharmed, wearing clean clothes and with evidence of regular meals. The cultists had been taking care of them, just as the ranger's notes had suggested. But there were also guards. 2 cultists sat near the cave entrance, playing cards by torchlight. They were armed with spears and had knives at their belts, but they didn't seem particularly alert. This was routine for them. Luna tapped Noah's shoulder and pointed to a 4th cage that stood empty. According to the game's lore, there should be 4 missing children. Where was the 4th one? As if reading his thoughts, one of the guards spoke up. "Think they'll find another one in time? The ritual needs 5. "They will," the other guard replied. "The spirits are guiding them. By tomorrow night, all 5 will be gathered. Amu." So they still needed 1 more child to complete their ritual. That meant Noah and Luna might still be targets. Or more likely, the cultists were planning to kidnap another child from town. Either way, they had to stop this tonight. Noah studied the cavern layout. The guards were positioned between them and the cages, but there were large rock formations that might provide cover. If they could approach unseen, they might be able to take out the guards before they could raise an alarm. But first, they needed to let the children know help was coming. Noah picked up a small pebble and tossed it toward the cages. It clicked against the bars of the nearest cage, and the girl inside looked up hopefully. Noah put his finger to his lips in a gesture for silence, then pointed to himself and Luna. The girl's eyes widened with understanding, and she quietly alerted the 2 boys. Now came the hard part. Noah drew his hunting knife and motioned for Luna to ready the crossbow. They would have to move fast and strike before the guards could call for help. "On 3, he mouthed silently. 1, 2, 3. They emerged from the tunnel at a run. Luna's crossbow bolt took the first guard in the shoulder, spinning him around and causing him to drop his spear with a clatter. Noah tackled the second guard before he could stand up, wrestling for control of the man's weapon. The wounded guard was reaching for a horn hanging from his belt, some kind of alarm. Luna dropped the crossbow and lunged for him, knocking the horn from his hands before he could sound it. "The keys!" one of the children called out. "They keep the keys on the big table!" Noah looked around and spotted a wooden table covered with various items: rope, tools, papers, and a ring of iron keys. He grabbed the keys while Luna kept watch on the subdued guards. The first key didn't fit any of the locks. Neither did the second or third. But the fourth key opened the girl's cage with a satisfying click. "I'm Emma," she whispered as she climbed out. "Are you here to take us home?" "That's the plan," Noah said, moving to the next cage. "What's your last name?" "Emma Hartwell. My brother Alex was here too, but they moved him yesterday. They said they needed him for something special." Noah's blood ran cold. Alex. That was the name of one of the children from the game. But if Emma's brother had been moved, that meant the cultists already had 4 children. They just needed one more. "Where did they take him?" Luna asked while Noah worked on freeing the 2 boys. "The sacred grove," Emma said. "It's where they do the ceremonies, they said." She started to cry. "They said all of us would be together again tomorrow night." The boys were free now: Jake, age 8, and Marcus, age 10. Both were scared, but trying to be brave. All 3 children were surprisingly calm, given their situation, probably because they'd been captives long enough to become numb to the constant fear. "Can you walk?" Noah asked them. "We need to move fast." They nodded, though Emma was still crying quietly about her brother. "We'll get Alex too," Luna promised. "But first, we need to get you 3 somewhere safe." That was the problem. According to the ranger's map, they were miles from the nearest road, and the forest was full of cult patrols and supernatural dangers. They couldn't just walk 3 traumatized children through that gauntlet. "Is there a safe place nearby?" Noah asked the children. "Somewhere the bad people can't go." Jake spoke up. "There's an old fire tower about a mile from here. The guards said evil spirits can't climb iron, so they never go near it." That matched what Noah remembered from the game. Fire towers were safe zones where players could rest without fear of monster attacks. "Can you lead us there?" Luna asked. Jake nodded eagerly. "I memorized the path. I was planning to escape and go there if I got the chance." They gathered their supplies and prepared to leave. The guards were still alive but unconscious. Luna had improvised sleeping pressure points she'd learned in a self-defense class. They would wake up eventually, but hopefully not soon enough to matter. "What about Alex?" Emma asked as they prepared to enter the tunnel. "We can't leave him." "We're not leaving him," Noah promised. "But we need to get you 3 to safety first. Then we'll come back for Alex." It was the right decision, but it felt horrible. Somewhere in the forest, a 4th child was waiting for rescue, and they were walking away from him. The hike to the fire tower was nerve-wracking. They moved in single file, Jake leading, then the other 2 children, then Noah and Luna bringing up the rear. Every shadow could hide a cultist patrol. Every sound could mean discovery. But Jake knew the forest well. He led them along animal paths and dry stream beds, avoiding the main trails where guards might be patrolling. When they heard voices in the distance, he guided them to hiding spots behind fallen logs or dense thickets. The fire tower, when they finally reached it, was exactly like the ones in the game. A tall iron structure rising above the tree canopy, with a small cabin at the top for forest fire spotters. It had been abandoned for years, but it was still structurally sound. "I can't climb that," Emma said, looking up at the steep iron ladder. "Yes, you can," Luna said gently. "We'll help you, and once we're up there, you'll be safer than you've been in weeks." It took nearly an hour to get all 3 children up the ladder. Emma was afraid of heights. Marcus had injured his ankle during their capture, and Jake was exhausted from leading their escape. But eventually, they were all safe in the fire tower's observation cabin. The cabin was small but well equipped. Previous visitors, other refugees from the forest's dangers, had left supplies, blankets, canned food, a camping stove, even a battery-powered radio. "This is perfect," Luna said, getting the children settled with food and warm blankets. "You'll be safe here until we can get you home." But Emma grabbed Noah's arm as he prepared to leave. "You're really going back for Alex?" "I promise," Noah said. "We're not leaving without him." Jake pulled out a crude map he'd drawn on a piece of bark. "The sacred grove is here," he said, pointing to a spot near the center. "But it's the most dangerous place in the forest. That's where all the spirits live." Noah studied the map. According to Jake's drawing, the sacred grove was about 3 miles from the fire tower, deep in the heart of the forest, where the trees were oldest and the supernatural activity was strongest. "How many guards?" Luna asked. "Lots," Marcus said. "They've been preparing for days, moving supplies, setting up torches, drawing symbols in the dirt. Whatever they're planning, it's big." Emma was crying again. "Alex is so scared. He tries to be brave, but he's only 6. He doesn't understand what's happening." 6 years old. The same age as the character Koala Kid in the game, the final child players had to rescue to complete the main quest. "We'll bring him back," Luna promised. "I swear." They left the children with the radio tuned to the emergency frequency and instructions to call for help if anyone came near the tower. It wasn't a perfect solution. The radio might not reach anyone from this deep in the forest, but it was better than leaving them completely defenseless. The sun was rising as Noah and Luna began their trek toward the sacred grove. They had maybe 12 hours before the new moon ritual was scheduled to begin. 12 hours to infiltrate the most dangerous location in the forest, rescue a 6-year-old boy, and escape alive. "You know," Luna said, as they hiked through the morning mist, "when I suggested we try camping, this isn't what I had in mind." Noah managed to laugh despite everything. "Next time, we stick to normal video games. Maybe something peaceful, like farming simulators." "Deal. But after we save Alex." The forest was different in daylight. Still dangerous. They spotted the deer watching them from a distance several times, but less oppressive. They made good time, following game trails and staying alert for cult patrols. Around noon, they reached the edge of the sacred grove. It was unlike anything Noah had seen, even in the game. The trees here were enormous, ancient oaks and pines that must have been growing for centuries. Their trunks were so wide that it would take 10 people holding hands to circle them, and their branches formed a canopy so thick that only scattered beams of sunlight reached the forest floor. But it wasn't just the trees that made the place feel otherworldly. The air itself seemed thicker here, charged with energy that made their skin tingle. Mist drifted between the trees like living things, and the normal sounds of forest life were replaced by whispers and sighs that seemed to come from the earth itself. "This place is ancient," Luna breathed. "Really ancient." In the center of the grove, they could see a circular clearing where dozens of torches had been arranged in complex patterns. Stone altars and carved pillars rose from the misty ground, covered with symbols that hurt to look at directly. And there, in a cage made of iron bars and twisted rope, was a small figure in a blue hoodie. Alex. He looked even younger than his 6 years, curled up in the corner of his cage like a frightened animal. But he was alive, and he didn't appear to be injured. The problem was the guards. Noah counted at least 12 cultists moving around the grove, some tending fires, others arranging ritual materials. They were all armed, and they all looked like they knew how to use their weapons. "We can't fight that many," Luna whispered. "We don't have to fight them," Noah said, studying the layout. "We just have to get Alex and get out." The cage was positioned near the center of the grove, but there were blind spots where the standing stones blocked the guards' view. If they could create a distraction on one side of the clearing, they might be able to reach Alex from the other side. "What kind of distraction?" Luna asked. Noah grinned and pulled out the ranger's emergency flare gun they'd found at the supply cache. "The kind that makes lots of noise and bright lights." They spent an hour working their way around the perimeter of the grove, staying hidden in the undergrowth while they observed the guards' patrol patterns. Most of the cultists were focused on their ritual preparations, but a few were posted as sentries around the edge of the clearing. When they were in position on the far side of the grove from Alex's cage, Noah loaded the flare gun and aimed it at a pile of kindling near the main altar. "Wait for my signal," he whispered to Luna. "When the flare goes off, circle around and get to Alex. I'll meet you there." Luna nodded, gripping her knife tightly. "What if this doesn't work?" "Then we improvise. Ready?" She took a deep breath. "Ready." Noah pulled the trigger. The flare shot across the grove like a meteor, trailing sparks and smoke. It hit the kindling pile and exploded in a shower of red light and flame. The cultists shouted in alarm, rushing toward the fire with buckets of water and dirt. Luna sprinted toward Alex's cage while Noah circled in the other direction. The distraction was working. Most of the guards were focused on putting out the spreading fire. But not all of them. A cultist emerged from behind one of the standing stones, directly between Luna and the cage. He raised his spear, shouting a warning to his companions. Noah tackled the man from behind, driving his shoulder into the cultist's back and sending them both tumbling to the ground. They rolled through the mist, wrestling for control of the spear. The cultist was older but stronger than Noah, and he had the advantage of experience. He twisted the spear around, trying to bring the point to bear on Noah's chest. But Noah had something the cultist didn't expect: video game reflexes. Hundreds of hours of combat in 99 Nights in the Forest had taught him to anticipate attacks, to counter and dodge and strike at exactly the right moment. He rolled sideways, causing the spear thrust to miss by inches, then grabbed a handful of forest dirt and threw it in the cultist's eyes. While the man was blinded, Noah wrenched the spear away and used the butt end to knock him unconscious. Across the clearing, Luna had reached Alex's cage and was working on the lock with one of the keys they'd taken from the cave guards. The lock clicked open just as more cultists noticed what was happening. "Luna!" Noah shouted. "Company!" 3 cultists were running toward her, weapons drawn. Luna scooped Alex out of his cage and ran toward the trees, but she was carrying a 6-year-old boy and couldn't move fast enough. Noah arrived just as the lead cultist reached them. He swung the stolen spear in a wide arc, forcing the man to jump backward. The second cultist tried to circle around, but Luna surprised him with her crossbow. She'd reloaded it during their approach and put a bolt through his leg at point-blank range. The third cultist hesitated, clearly not expecting such fierce resistance from 2 teenagers. "Go!" Noah shouted to Luna. "I'll hold them off." But Luna shook her head. "We stick together, remember?" Alex, meanwhile, was staring around the grove with wide eyes. "The spirits," he whispered. "They're everywhere." Noah looked around and saw what the boy meant. The mist wasn't just mist. There were shapes moving within it, tall figures with glowing eyes that watched the battle with ancient interest. The ritual site was awakening, responding to the violence and fear. "We need to leave," Luna said urgently. "Right now." The remaining cultists seemed to have the same idea. Instead of pressing their attack, they were backing away toward the main group, shouting warnings about the spirits stirring. Noah, Luna, and Alex ran for the trees. Behind them, the sacred grove erupted into supernatural chaos as the ancient spirits reacted to the disruption of their sacred space. They didn't stop running until they were completely out of sight of the grove. Only then did they pause to catch their breath and check on Alex. The boy was remarkably calm for someone who'd been held captive by a forest cult. "Are you the ones Emma told me about?" he asked. "The ones who were going to save us?" "That's us," Luna panted. "Are you hurt? Did they do anything to you?" Alex shook his head. "They were actually pretty nice. Scary, but nice. They said I was special, that I was going to help save the world." It was the same story they'd heard from the other children. The cultists genuinely believed they were doing something good, something necessary to protect humanity from a greater threat. "Well, now you're going to help save the world a different way," Noah said. "By getting back to your sister and going home safe." The hike back to the fire tower took most of the afternoon. They had to move carefully. The forest was buzzing with cult activity as search parties looked for the escaped children and the raiders who had freed them, but they made it. As the sun was setting, they climbed the iron ladder to the fire tower's observation cabin, where Emma was waiting with tears of joy streaming down her face. "Alex!" She grabbed her little brother in a fierce hug. "I was so scared." "I'm okay," Alex said, hugging her back. "The nice teenagers saved me, just like you said they would." Jake and Marcus were also relieved to see them return safely. The 4 rescued children clustered together, finally allowing themselves to believe they might actually make it home. But Noah knew their ordeal wasn't over yet. The cultists would be looking for them, and the new moon ritual was supposed to happen tonight. Without 5 children to sacrifice, the cult might try something desperate. "We need to get these kids out of the forest," he told Luna privately. "Tonight, before the ritual time." Luna nodded. "The radio's been picking up some chatter. I think there are search and rescue teams looking for the missing children. If we can get close enough to a road," it was risky. Moving 4 children through a hostile forest at night was exactly the kind of thing that got people killed in horror movies. But staying in the fire tower might be even more dangerous if the cultists decided to mount a full assault. They gathered their supplies and prepared for one last journey. This time, their destination was the main road that ran along the eastern edge of the forest, about 5 miles away through rough terrain. "Stick together," Noah told the children as they climbed down from the fire tower. "No matter what happens, we don't split up." The forest at night was a nightmare maze of shadows and supernatural dangers. The deer appeared multiple times, but it seemed confused by their group. In the game, it primarily hunted solitary targets. With 6 people moving together, it couldn't decide who to focus on. They also encountered cult patrols twice, but both times Jake's knowledge of the forest helped them find hiding spots until the searchers passed by. The real problem came when they were about 2 miles from the road. The whispers started. At first, it was just a faint murmuring in the trees, like wind through leaves. But gradually, the whispers became clearer, more insistent. They were calling to the children, speaking their names, promising safety and comfort if they would just step away from the group. "Don't listen," Luna warned. But Noah could see the children starting to slow down, their heads turning toward the seductive voices. Emma was the first to break away. She took 3 steps toward a cluster of trees before Noah caught her arm. "Emma! No! Stay with us!" She blinked, confused. "But they're calling me. They say my parents are looking for me. They say if I go to them, I can go home right now." "Those aren't your parents," Luna said firmly. "Those are the forest spirits. They're trying to trick you." But Alex was drifting away too, drawn by whispers that promised toys and candy and all his favourite things. Marcus and Jake were struggling to resist, but Noah could see their resolve weakening. The spirits were getting stronger as the new moon approached. Without the ritual to contain them, they were breaking free of their ancient bonds and actively hunting for the children they'd been promised. "Link arms," Noah ordered. "Everyone hold on to someone else. Don't let go no matter what you hear." They formed a human chain. Noah in front, then Emma and Alex, then Jake and Marcus, with Luna bringing up the rear. Linked together, they pushed through the forest while the whispers grew louder and more desperate. The spirits weren't just using voices now. They were creating illusions, glimpses of rescue helicopters landing just ahead, images of parents calling out from between the trees, even fake police officers with badges and uniforms. But Noah remembered the ranger's notes. If you hear whispers in the trees, don't listen. They'll try to lure you away from safety. It's all fake, he reminded the others. None of it is real. Just keep walking. The whispers reached a crescendo just as they emerged from the forest onto the main road. The moment they stepped onto the asphalt, the supernatural voices cut off abruptly, as if they'd crossed some kind of invisible barrier. And there, less than a quarter mile down the road, were the flashing lights of real rescue vehicles. "Help!" Luna shouted, waving her arms. "We're here! We have the missing children!" The rescue team reached them in minutes. Police officers, paramedics, and search and rescue volunteers who had been combing the forest for days, looking for the missing kids. "Are you all right?" one of the paramedics asked, checking the children for injuries. "We've been searching everywhere. How did you find them?" Noah and Luna exchanged glances. How could they explain what had really happened? Who would believe a story about forest spirits and supernatural cults? "We got lost hiking," Luna said finally. "We found them in some old caves. The people who took them. I think they ran away when they heard the search helicopters." It was a partial truth, and it seemed to satisfy the authorities. The important thing was that the children were safe. As the ambulances drove away with Emma, Alex, Jake, and Marcus, Noah felt a mix of relief and sadness. They'd done it. They'd rescued all 4 children and gotten them back to safety. But they would probably never see them again, and no one would ever know what they'd really accomplished. "Think the cult will try again?" Luna asked, as they rode in the back of a police car toward town. Noah looked back at the forest through the rear window. In the distance, he could see strange lights flickering between the trees. The cult was still active, still trying to complete their ritual with whatever substitute they could find. "Maybe," he said, "but at least those kids are safe." The police took their statements and eventually released them to their worried parents. Noah's mom cried when she saw him, and Luna's dad grounded her for a month, which she accepted with grace, considering she'd just saved 4 lives. The official story was that the children had been taken by a survivalist group that had fled when the search efforts got too intense. The kids' memories were fuzzy. Trauma, the psychologist said. But they all insisted that 2 brave teenagers had rescued them from caves in the forest. Noah and Luna became local heroes, at least for a few weeks, but they never told anyone the full truth about what they'd experienced in the forest. They also never played 99 Nights in the Forest again. The game felt different now, that they knew it was based on real events. The deer monster wasn't just a collection of pixels anymore. It was a memory of red eyes watching them from the darkness. The cultist raids weren't just exciting gameplay mechanics. They were reminders of real people who had tried to sacrifice real children to ancient spirits. But sometimes, late at night, Noah would boot up the game just to check the forums, to see if other players were reporting strange experiences, impossible encounters, stories that sounded too real to be just imagination. And sometimes he found them, players who claimed they'd met the deer in real life, gamers who insisted they'd found actual cultist camps in forests near their homes, stories that were dismissed as creepypasta or attention-seeking, but that Noah recognized as probably true. The forest spirits were still out there, still hungry, still looking for children to claim. The cult was probably still active, planning new rituals, searching for new victims. But at least 4 children were safe. Emma and Alex Hartwell had been reunited with their parents. Jake Morrison was back home with his grandmother. Marcus Chen was getting counselling to help him process his trauma. And somewhere in the world, two teenagers who looked like ordinary gamers were ready to respond if anyone else needed rescuing from a forest that existed between reality and nightmare. Because some games are more than just games. Some stories are more than just stories. And some heroes start as players who realize the game has become real and choose to keep playing anyway. The night the campfire went out had taught Noah and Luna that courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about doing what's right, even when you're terrified. They'd learned that light really can push back the darkness, that ordinary people can become extraordinary when others need them, and that sometimes the most important battles are the ones nobody else knows you're fighting. Most importantly, they'd learned that some victories are worth any price, even if the only reward is knowing that somewhere 4 children are safe at home with their families. The game of 99 Nights in the Forest continued, both virtual and real. But now it had new guardians watching over it, making sure that when darkness fell, there would always be light to guide lost players home. And if you ever find yourself lost in a forest at night, with strange sounds in the darkness and shadows that move when they shouldn't, remember this story. Remember that courage is contagious, that heroes can come from anywhere, and that as long as there are people willing to tend the flame, the campfire never truly goes out. It just changes hands, passed from one generation to the next, keeping the light alive for anyone who needs it. This is the end of our story about 99 Nights in the Forest. But in a way, it's also just the beginning, because somewhere out there, the game continues, and new players are learning that some adventures are more real than they ever imagined. Sweet dreams, and remember, keep your campfires burning bright, trust in the power of friendship, and never venture into the deep woods alone. You never know what might be watching from the shadows, waiting for the light to go out. But you also never know who might be watching back, ready to help if you need them. The end.